Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. Go!
Gotta get in that metal mood.
Yeah, I by quoting Korn, singing some Korn.
Yeah, we love Korn.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Metal Family.
Metal!
Family.
That's
the second part.
bunch of clanking bleep blorps.
Yeah, a little fucking Mega Man.
Yeah, they're all little robots, little robot family.
Yeah.
No, that's not what it is.
D, are you familiar with the program Seal Brute?
Something to do with hackers?
Yep. Are you aware at all that I've installed spamware protection to restrict access to websites that I think would be harmful to you and Heavy?
So what? Someone tried to break through the protection and gain access to the sites using primitive Trojanware? How naive.
No, someone gained access to the sites by bypassing the protection with software under the guise of Seal Brute. Guess who 350? Raise 350.
It should be that, but it
could
isn't.
be. They haven't shown that they're not robots.
That's true.
They could be robots.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. So before we get started, big thank you. This is a birthday shout out. Happy birthday, Scraps or Parker or Schlip Schlap or whatever your name is this year. Glad to see your musical taste is improving. Have a podcast, you moody teenage twerp. Not my words, their words.
But we stand
Parker
by them.
Scrap.
We fully endorse it.
Of course. Yeah. Yes. This is okay. This made me feel like in with the kids because I'm pretty sure this is like something the kids are watching, right, Tom?
I have no idea. I've never heard of it. It's a web series from 2018.
Yes, that is currently in season 2. It's called Metal Family. It is Russian, I believe.
It is extremely Russian.
Yeah, and so it's being dubbed into English, and there's season 1 and season 2, and so far that amounts to like less than 2 hours.
It's about 13 episodes.
Content.
You can find them all on YouTube, both with the English dub and the original Russian if you want to get weird.
Yeah, if you want to get
Maybe you speak
weird.
Russian. I don't know. I don't know what your life is.
I don't know. The dub is okay.
The dub is shaky. It gets better as the series goes on, but there are certain episodes where it's like, did you record this on an iPhone? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of shaky.
Yeah.
The first few episodes, but then like the production clearly, like they get more money. I guess the series got more popular. The animation gets better. The sound quality gets better.
The animation, the first ones are like fucking Newgrounds comics.
Yeah, exactly.
Like cartoons.
Yeah.
And then it becomes like by the end, it's like, oh yeah, this is like
it's just like a cartoon,
something that'd be on Adult Swim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like fully well animated by the. There's only 3 episodes up for season 2 right now, and I guess they released the last one like a year ago. So I don't know how long it takes them to make these.
Well, I'm sure they have to translate them too.
Yeah, that's true.
I had it written down.
That would have been a good idea. That would have been a good idea. So the last episode came out late 2022. Oh, okay.
And I should note they're all kind of like 5 months apart. So I assume it's a very small crew, and it just takes a little while between episodes.
Oh, okay,
so
that checks out.
Yeah, my feeling is that I'm pretty sure this is still in production. It's still going.
Yeah, the thing, the last I looked up, it said they're in the middle of season 2, so we'll probably expect another episode in a month or two, I guess, because the last one was like in December. Anyway, not important. We should probably tell them what the show's about.
Well, yeah, it is what it says. It's about a family that are into heavy metal. And
not necessarily heavy metal, all types of metal.
All types of metal, yeah, that's true. Glam is a big part of it.
Glam is the dad, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I want to start with the how did you like this?
Okay, so this is... I wound up I wound up liking this. I don't I don't love it, but I wound up liking this. It was really shaky starting off, so it was kind of similar to like Hell of a Boss or the other web series that we covered, where it's like the early episodes are kind of rough. They're not that funny, and it's like I kind of get it. Like I liked the idea of it. It's, the family that each family member is like a different type of metal, sort of. That's cool.
Right.
That's a fun idea.
Yeah. We can go through the episodes a bit, but
it definitely got better.
Like, yes, it's like 3-minute webisodes at first, and then it hits something kind of remarkable to me happens when it hits the first long episode and the flashback episodes. Because I'm pretty much the same with you. I ended up liking this, and I think I might like it more than you in the sense that like I am going to watch the next episode when it comes out.
If I remember to, I probably will. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's very interesting to watch what I would consider talent behind this, storytelling talent. I agree with you where I didn't find it particularly funny.
I'm not, and I'm not even really sure it's. I'm sorry, finish your thought.
That funny.
Yeah, it's like its intent stops being to be funny.
Yeah,
even though it's still always kind of funny. Like I love the mom; she's hilarious. But
she's for sure.
But it really it shifts its focus like halfway through season 1 and starts just like, okay, it's kind of funny, but it's not. It's not even really a comedy, really.
Yeah, something kind of remarkable happens to this show, because it starts in a way where you're just like, okay, I get it. And then it decides to do something
standard, like
completely changing the characters in a way. And telling it's so far 3 parts to this specific story that I would say like, I could see this in a movie.
It switches from being really traditional kind of sitcom slice of life little joke episodes, and then all of a sudden they start doing flashback episodes about the dad, Glam, and it's like this really dramatic story. It's still funny, there's still jokes in it, but like it's really dramatic.
Yeah, and it's told really well.
It's also told really well. Yeah, the montage when he discovers metal and starts playing with his friend Chive, like that like actually resonated with me emotionally.
Yep.
I was like, this is like well made.
That's what's wild watching this is like there really is like you watch this person crow, but I would argue, and that's why I want to go through the first ones too, that there is the seeds of like storytelling. Episode 1 is very simple, and it's probably my least favorite because it felt a little straw man-y. The characters, the teachers are like complaining about this kid named Heavy, and they shave his hair, and the dad comes in to talk to them, and the dad is Glam, and
he's all glammed up.
Yep, and he's really polite, and everybody's like all shocked about it, and that's where I was like, I don't know how shocked people are about metal anymore.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, maybe in Russia.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
yeah. And he basically is like, you violated my kid and I'm going to do something in kind, but he doesn't really do anything in kind. He explodes a firework.
He leaves a glitter bomb.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And it was cute,
the funniest thing about it is they do a fun callback to that.
I was about to say. The callback made this worth it to me.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
That's episode 1. Again, it's a couple minutes. Second one, I thought had a good idea, but it was a little shaky, which is like, we learn the other brother, who I forget his name, but he's the smart one.
D is his name.
D. And he is like, he is helping a kid out with a test by saying the answers into his ear, and then he runs afoul with a bully. And so, like, the kid is hearing him in the ear.
Hearing him get beat up. That was kind of a funny idea, but...
right.
The audio quality wasn't great, the recording and the dub, so it was really hard. Plus, they were putting a filter on it so that we could hear what this kid was hearing in his earpiece, so it was legitimately kind of hard to understand him. But it was a funny idea.
Like, that is a funny idea.
He throws up at one point because he just got punched in the stomach.
Yeah.
So like he's trying to run this grift on this kid, and he's getting his ass kicked over the earpiece.
Yeah, and
That's
the kid starts like laughing. Yeah. And I thought like, good, solid short form plot, right?
Yeah.
Like beginning, middle, and end, and so like, and we're establishing the brothers now. They tease the mom, and then the next one is about the mom. And actually, this might be my least favorite one. It's another kind of straw man. It's people going around filming people smoking cigarettes and like harassing them.
Yeah, for smoking cigarettes. It's like, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Yeah,
and it might
again,
be this,
maybe
this
in
is,
Russia. I don't know, but
youth culture in a country on the opposite side of the globe. So it's probably, and we're 40-year-old white American dudes. So it's probably just something we don't know about. But anyway,
for sure. And they go after the mom, and she like knocks him out, and they film her assaulting these kids. And then they go to the cops, and it reveals that the card doesn't have it.
Yeah, they don't have the video anymore, so she tells this fantastical version of events, like, oh, they were trying to attack me, and I beat him up. I don't know how that one kid ended up through the glass. He was crazy. I don't know what he was doing.
It's not a bad intro to the mom, but although it's like she's a little bit of a jerk in this one.
They hadn't quite figured her out, because later on she becomes basically you when you play Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
Like her solution is just to muscle through everything, and she's really funny about it.
Yes. But they are figuring it out. It very much is like season 1 Simpsons, where it's like nothing quite looks right.
They haven't figured everyone out.
Right.
Homer's still like a normal person in season 1.
And so this definitely felt like that. But they established that this kid, the blonde kid D, is smart.
Yeah.
He did this thing, and then the other kid, Heavy, is kind of the emotional one, and one of the parents is blonde, one is redhead, and same with the kids. And we're starting to see something that I really like, and I was talking about with Bob's Burgers with you, which is something new shows seem to do, which is they realize like how to do like genetics, where they're like the kids are going to be like the parents in very specific ways, and they're having fun with that. Whereas you go back to The Simpsons, it's not like Bart and Lisa don't feel like necessarily
they could
Homer
be
and Marge's kids.
They could be anyone's kids, and that's largely because of the art style too. But I mean, that's not true.
Sure.
They started drawing way different looking people in The Simpsons.
Oh yeah, but there's definitely like Milhouse.
Milhouse. And
yeah, but you know what I mean, where it's like this is just a little more nuanced.
They put it into their personalities. Like I see what you're saying, because like Bart and Lisa don't really seem like either. Like Homer. I mean, Bart's a little bit like Homer, but like,
right.
And in Bob's Burgers, it's pretty obvious where the kids get their traits from. Another thing you said, Bob's Burgers, I like that this family gets along. Like, I like that they enjoy being around each other. It doesn't do the traditional sitcom thing. And Bob's Burgers does the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And it kept reminding me of Bob's Burgers for that reason. Yeah. And then we get into episode 4, and this is Poker Night, and this is the first one for me. I know we'll get into it, but I know this didn't click for you right away, but this is when I started personally to like this show. I didn't love this episode, but I recognized that and maybe you did too. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I liked that they sort of figured out who the mom character was going to be in this episode. Yes.
We also started to get a feel for like the dynamics, because it's Poker Night, which is a great idea for a short form cartoon family sitcom. They all play poker together. What does that mean, right? And the dirtbag friend shows up, who's into old ladies for some reason, but
that was Chive, isn't it?
I believe that's Chive.
Yeah,
yes.
He plays a huge part in the flashback episodes.
Yes, he does.
So this was an interesting introduction to him, because he's just kind of like this hippie guitar player who seems out of place with them, and yeah. And this is what's
cool about this is once we start learning who these people are, everything sort of clicks from these episodes. So the dad is very weird. He has this like constant smile, and a very cheery voice, and he's clearly very smart. The mom is a hothead, and they show that here. She's
also buff, which I love. She's just jacked.
She's jacked. And she gets deuce 7, flops, and of course it comes up like 2-2-2-7. And so like that's a very relatable poker situation. And basically she loses, and then Heavy loses. And so it's kind of the dad and and D, and they're both the smart ones, right? and they start like really going at each other, and
They're
there's
playing-
like a feeling of
They're playing this mind game. Like the dad just starts idly talking about, oh, somebody got around the little firewall that I put up to keep you kids from accessing certain websites. I wonder who that could have been. And they're doing this
Yeah.
back and forth.
yes, and it's and that was again when it like clicked. It was like, oh, this is cool, and like the dad's kind of a sociopath. It seems.
He is a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And so like great premise. And then ultimately Chive is winning, and the realization is like Chive never looks at his cards.
Yeah.
And
Not once.
It's this idea of like they're kind of weighing intelligence in a way, and they do this later too, where they're showing like what everybody's skills are and where they land in this family and the dynamic. And it's a very good way of doing it, which is like, yeah, these two are more intelligent, it seems, or rather they're better at, education stuff at school. But that doesn't mean they're necessarily, that doesn't mean they always have the upper hand. And Chive is kind of proving that here as well. And that's pretty much that episode, right?
Yeah.
But you can see how it starts, like a shape starts forming, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just kind of random jokes around the idea of a family of metalheads, and then it starts to coalesce around this episode. And then the next episode is all four of them go to an escape room, and that's where it really clicked for me.
Well, there's one more before that, actually.
I thought the next one was the escape room.
So you'd think it would be, but I think maybe they were out of order when I did them.
Oh, maybe.
Episode 5 was the will reading I had. But we should talk about, let's talk about the escape room. Because
we just mention
there's still episode 7 still goes back. So
yeah.
All right. So there's a.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna do the will reading one, which
Sure.
is, which we learn that he has a sister.
Yep, and she's awful.
And she's terrible.
She's
we also,
very, very mean to him.
Yes, and she looks identical to him.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and they go to a will reading for his father, and it's really fancy, and he's not getting a thing, and he's just smiling through the whole thing. So now we're getting like background, and again, it's like this is the first time it threw me off, where I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting.
Right,
they're like exploring his character,
and they're not telling you. It's that you don't figure this out for several episodes, so it was weird to see it in like a 6 or 7 minute web cartoon episode where they're planting the scene of, oh, they're like Glam, the dad, he is not interested, he doesn't want anything from this. It's like he couldn't care less about it. So it's like, well,
care less.
It's so that automatically you're like, well, there's clearly a reason. What could that reason be? And what a weird seed to plant in a cartoon like this, but they do pay it off super well.
And it's not like all the others. It's not like very jokey. The will reading happens. The dad leaves him a single box. The dead father, and the sister's obsessed with this yacht. They go there in a limo. They leave in a cab, basically, which is a good visual.
Yeah, they ride up with the sister, and she gets everything, and all Glam gets is this box, and he doesn't care. And then she makes them ride home in a cab.
Yeah. And then they're like, let's look in the box. Maybe we're loaded. And he's just like, I'm not interested. And then basically it ends with him looking in the box, and we don't see what he sees, but his face drops. And that's the end of the episode. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's a hell of an off. It may feel like we're over explaining it, but like we really wanted to get across like what the first couple were like. And then this thing happens. You're like, yes. That is a hell of a shoe to drop.
Yeah, this is leading to something, and that's important. We're not just going to... we can go through each one because it's easy.
It's not necessary, but...
Yeah, I'd say the first season, and well, obviously the first season because that's most of it. But then the second one, I think, or the sixth one is the escape room episode, and that's where it all comes together.
Yeah.
Which is family going to an escape room. Really obvious, perfect sitcom, storytelling plot.
Yeah. It's basically, it ends just real quick. It ends up with Glam and Dee end up paired up together and solve the escape room in record time. And Victoria, the mom, and Heavy are paired together. And she winds up ripping a pipe off the wall and bashing her way through the brick wall to get outside. And that's how they escape.
And they think they both
and they
did
think
it the correct
they're
way.
doing it right. Yeah.
And it's perfect. Because it perfectly represents the dynamics of this family.
Yeah.
Because at the end they go, well, we did it as a team, both families. Because they do this idea where, like, at first it's the kids against the adults. And so there's one like quote unquote smart one on the team, and then they go through like this. They accidentally like swap. So you're like, the two dummies are on the same team, and the reveal is like, well, no, they figured out a way out too.
No, she's still going to get out of that room. It's just
yeah, and at the end, the mom is just like, we did it together. And so it's like she also like created a positive environment. The point of an escape room, they come out. In fact, the team that bashes the wall comes out with a sense of unity and like satisfaction, whereas the smart ones don't care that much.
Yeah, it was
so like
they didn't even really have any fun doing it.
Exactly.
Like we just kind of see them sort of like laughing at how like easy the clues are.
Right. And so it's kind of like playing checkers with storytelling. It's a very simple idea, but it's kind of perfectly executed, which is like, okay, you have a puzzle, you have 4 characters, you swap the dynamic halfway through, and then something happens that you don't expect.
Mm-hmm.
But it also paints a picture of those characters. And so that's like the first episode where it's like if you're gonna like,
it's a great storytelling.
Start it here,
yeah, because
it really
because it just you get plenty of other shows do it because it's just like give them a puzzle, give them some sort of thing they need to solve, and how each character decides to try and solve the problem will tell. It's like giving you all the background you need on a character. Basically, it's a real easy way to do it.
Yeah, and I would argue we're setting the bar a little low.
Let me say efficient and not easy. Efficient.
You could argue we're setting the bar low because this is a web series, but I think what it comes down to is that most shows you watch have a team of writers having to figure this out, whereas this is clearly like a smaller group, and so that's why it was like impressive to see like, okay, so you're really thinking about this now,
Yeah.
And I don't know how old these people are. It doesn't really matter.
I have no idea.
It was just like really surprising to see. Then we get into episode 7. And we can sort of start yada-yadaing, but this one's kind of important too, because it's about Dee trying to learn to play guitar. And we learn a new dynamic, which is that his brother Metal is heavy. Sorry, I keep calling him Metal. Heavy. This is now, and this is what I really like. This is the Bob's Burgers of it all. It's not just that mom is like heavy and dad is like Dee. It's not that, because what we learn is dad, Glam, can play guitar really well. And so can Heavy.
Right.
And so that's the way they're alike suddenly. They have a natural musical talent. But this is Dee trying to learn guitar, and he can't do it, which I relate to.
Yeah. It's just beyond him.
Yeah, and his dad is just very straightforward saying, like, you're talentless. You got to understand, son, you don't have any talent. And he's kind of fucking mean about it.
He's straight. Yeah. And I think it's important because when we see that happens to him in the flashback is his dad did the same thing to him when he was a kid.
Yes. That's what they're planning. And he's actually, he gets mad at one point.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah. He loses his temper and then quickly corrects himself. So he's like putting a lot of pressure on this kid who just can't play guitar. And that's pretty much the episode. It ends kind of sad with him on a DM. And you see the message that says, do you play guitar? And he has to answer no.
Yeah, he was trying to learn to play it so he could impress some girl he's chatting with online.
Yeah.
So
episode 8 is just sort of a standalone. It's the biker bar.
Oh yeah.
We don't have to go into it.
It's fun and games. It's just the mom getting into a series of contests at a biker bar. Anyway.
Yep. Then we get to episode 9. And this is where it goes completely like just left turn. It takes place, and they don't tell you. It's just suddenly you're watching a young blonde man that you realize pretty quickly is Glam.
Is Glam, yeah.
When he was a teenager. And this is where shit becomes a 3-part. This is also the first long one. This is like 20 minutes-ish.
It's like 20 minutes, yeah. There's another one that's 26. Yeah, I think the next one is 26.
Yep. And then there's one more in season 2, and all 3 of them are specifically about...
They're all the flashback episodes about the dad, yeah.
Yeah, and we could just run through it, which is that the dad, we learned, started, of course, in a very rich family.
We should call him Glam, because Glam's dad factors into this pretty heavily. And I don't think we know his name, so...
Right. And so Glam, yeah, you're right. Little Dad and Big Dad.
Little Dad and Big Dad.
So Glam, first thing you realize, it starts, I think, around that box, right? Or they mention the box that he got at the funeral.
He's in his music. His dad's giving him a music lesson and just whipping him on his arm, on the inside of his wrist with a ruler every time he messes something up, and he's cut and bloody from it, basically, because his dad sucks. His dad's a real piece of shit.
Yeah, his dad is abusive.
And then he gets a gun in that box that has a little 37 on the side.
Right.
In the middle of this lesson, the butler comes in and says, "Your Smith & Wesson arrived," and he's like playing with the gun and he loves it. And we clearly see that this is the same box that he left Glam in his will.
Right. Yeah. So the third side is like, oh, was there a gun in that box?
Yeah.
And what the other thing we learn about Glam pretty quickly here is that he actually is emotional as a teenager. However, most of the emotions are anger and sadness.
Mm-hmm.
He is a lot more of a human, I would argue. He's just acting more like someone in this situation, right?
He's acting like he's a real like impassioned teenager. Like he's behaving. Normally, what we've seen in Glam so far is just this unnaturally cheerful face, the wide-eyed smile.
Right.
Yeah. So this is like, it seems like a totally different character.
And it's making that offer where you're like, fuck, man,
yeah,
this
what
is
happened?
great.
Yeah,
what happened? I hope we're going to find out. So he's being the way, so we're seeing that pressure. He is being pressured to be like number one in his class for violin. And you're immediately seeing like, oh, this is the pressure he was putting on his kid. This kind of reflects that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trapped in this house. He's basically a prisoner. He's never really seen the city. It's a real fucking Cinderella, like princess situation where we learn that he's making a model of the city with any trash he could find.
Yeah, hidden very, very carefully underneath the floorboard. Like he has this really intricate, it's like a 3-step lock basically to hide it under his floorboard, along with a journal that he keeps.
Right.
Yeah, he's built a little Beetlejuice model of the town.
Yeah, using like junk, and he keeps calling the buildings stuff like zippers and different pieces of junk that associate, and he's trying to find a light bulb to get this first perfect piece. And he, on his way to school, sees a piece of a light bulb, so he kicks it into an alley, and he meets Chive, who's pissing in the alley, who we do recognize, like, oh, that's Chive from Poker Night, so we know he's going to matter. Chive is a metal, he's like a little junkie kid. He's a little piece of shit. A lovable piece of shit.
Yeah, he's like a street punk, basically.
Yeah. And so he's at first like really irritated and turned off by this guy. They go and do the contest.
There again, it's a conservatory. They're both,
right.
He's going to basically audition for a conservatory, and he realizes that Chive is also there to do the conservatory. And he's like disgusted by him at first.
Exactly. And he's even more disgusted when he gets second place to Chive.
Yeah.
Chive is number one, which is a nice little offer. And so he's still like disgusted by him, but Chive pushes a Bach album on him. I believe it's Bach.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he very clearly, Chive, while he's talking to him, you realize, oh, Chive knows a lot about music, despite being this like little shit, this street punk.
It's a similar, a similar kind of reveal to the Poker Night thing, where it's like, even though the reveal is that he just doesn't care about the game as much as everybody else does, but it is sort of like you sort of write him off.
Yeah.
So the show's kind of already trained us to do that. It's interesting, like the things that seem inconsequential that they kind of call
they thought
back.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he brings the bucket, the album home. His dad beats him for getting second place. He's like, but my sister didn't, and he's like, it's different. She's a girl. Like he's an awful, awful man, the dad. And he beats him, and he gets in his room, and he fucking cries. And he lies down and he puts on the Bach album, and it's actually Twisted Sister.
It's actually Twisted Sister.
Yep. And he's listening to Twisted Sister, and then the episode ends. And great fucking place for that to end, where you're like, okay, we're seeing the origins here. This is great. You know?
Out of nowhere. Totally unexpected. It's again, it might feel like we're kind of needlessly explaining the plot of these episodes, but like, man, it suddenly became a whole other show.
Right. And I guess now the question is, do I want to spoil any more talking about it? Or do we want to just let people watch it if they want to? Because I figured go through it because I don't think people are going to watch it. But I think at this point, maybe we don't want to explain too much more. What do you think?
I don't know. We could give broad strokes. It's just, essentially this becomes a 3-parter, even though they're not consecutive parts. Like,
yeah. And the second part is basically him getting into metal and liking it. Yeah, I do want to talk about, because I want to talk about the skill in this.
Yeah.
But so basically the second part is like he's heard metal and now he starts to kind of snap and we start seeing the smile.
Right. It becomes like he's sneaking out at night to learn how to play guitar, because he's a classically trained musician, but he plays violin and piano. He doesn't play guitar.
Yes.
So he sneaks out with Chive and Chive is teaching him how to play. And he's seeing parts of the city he's never seen before. So it's like this music, he finally has an escape, basically. So that's where the smile comes from. It's like, oh, like my dad can't actually hurt me anymore because I have this, I have this secret world that I can escape to now.
Yeah, it's teenage rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a little snapped. Like, we realize the dad is kind of a tragic character. He has stuff he has to resolve. But like, and then they do some really good storytelling to show this connection. For example, the first time he hangs out with Chive and like goes through metal and stuff where he's like, I want more. When they're going to his house, he's like, oh yeah, that's where I live. They're looking over the town. And he goes, over there by the can tab. Chive does. So you realize, oh, Chive is also thinking about the town like a pile of junk. Little things like that. They do these montages. They have a montage of him basically having a huge day with Chive, like intercut of him getting beat.
Yeah, getting beaten at home.
And then and they're 2 different times. It's after and before. And then they meet with ending on him coming home, and he says to himself, this is going to hurt. And you know it's going to hurt because you've already seen it. It's a very well-made montage of like 2 timelines meeting together in the middle. It's really compelling. I would argue better than the family stuff, to be honest. Like the flashback stuff is... I think I know why they kept doing this, because people were probably like, more of this.
Really good storytelling in these episodes.
Yeah. And like we said, him having the smile on his face, getting hit with the smile on his face. They do this montage just sort of focusing on that smile. And then there's a part where his father is like almost terrified of him.
Yeah, his dad recoils. He actually drops the ruler, and Clam bends over and picks it up and hands it back to him.
Right. It's wonderful. And so they start like playing shows or going to shows and starting a band. This whole time we should mention he has a diary, which he has as an adult as well.
I mentioned it. He kept it hidden under the floorboards with his model. I didn't notice that he still had it as an adult. That's cool. Oh
yeah. He writes in the diary, I believe, as an adult. Maybe I'm mixing it up, but I could have sworn.
Anyway.
And he tells his dad he's going to like a big rehearsal. He pays his sister to keep it to back him up because they're actually going to a show. They play the first show. It does well. He comes home and they do another great kind of moment where he's just walking in the rain. He looks at his dad. His dad is standing out there. His sister is standing out there. She has a black eye. He looks in the trash and sees all his secret stuff in the trash, including the box that has the model, which we should have mentioned is the same box.
Yeah,
that the gun was in.
Yeah, he stole the gun box to put the model in because he was going to move it to a different place, and then of course his dad finds it and destroys it, throws it in the trash. And
he just turns around and leaves because he knows his dad's just going to beat him. And the dad screams, "You chose rabble," at him.
There's a gut punch, and I mean, there's a lot. It's a very emotional scene. His dad's shouting at him, what's his name? Sebastian is Clam's actual name. Right. You hear his sister, who we said is awful to him in the previous episode. She can't stand him, but you hear his sister very quietly call his name. She's like, Sebastian? Like she can't believe he's leaving. She doesn't want to
be abandoned.
She doesn't want to be left alone with her dad. So now we totally understand. Like she was cold to him before, but now we understand why she hates him so much as an adult. Yeah, because he abandoned her there.
Right. And for a good reason. But
For
yeah,
good reason, but still. Like, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's like some real shit. Okay.
exactly. We know where everybody stands
Yeah.
at this point. And that's why it's so impressive. And that's how season 1 ends. Basically explaining who this dad is. And then when season 2 comes up, we start with the regular bits again. But we start kind of realizing like who he is, you know? Like the first one is the science museum.
Right, where Dee steals a rat and keeps it at home.
Yeah, they start focusing on the kids again, and I get why.
They tie so much stuff in too. There's like another episode where it's before this where I think Heavy is looking at something and Victoria wants to see what it is, and Glam says, oh, he's old enough to keep his own secrets.
Yep.
And in this episode, Kid steals a test rat from the lab and is keeping it secret at home in a box. And Glam kind of knows he's doing it, or at least suspects it. But at one point in the episode, he's like in the same position that his dad was when he found Glam's secrets. So it's like, I don't know. It's
exactly. No, Glam is fighting.
He's fighting becoming his dad. Yeah.
That's the whole point. Is that now, like, that's why it is important to do the kids stuff. It's just really clear that the protagonist, the person we're keeping our eye on, is Glam the whole time, because he has these moments of like intensity where he just stares and smiles and he goes like, okay. Yeah. And you realize like, oh, that's like his fucking brain.
He just waged a war internally that we didn't see.
Exactly. And it's really good because you suddenly realize like, okay, this character's kind of dark.
Yeah.
And it also explains little things like, yeah, his pressure on this kids, the fact that he's like, he cooks them a really like nutritious breakfast. He's really like, again, he's clearly come from education. He has a little fanciness in him.
Yeah.
You know,
he came from not only education, extreme wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I would understand why he doesn't like pets, because he doesn't want pets. And yeah, this first one is just kind of about this kid. They do a really good sequence, I thought, because he doesn't steal the rat. The rat escapes because they go on the field trip and the kid is like, do you have any super smart rats? And they're like, no, of course not. And then sure enough, a rat who's clearly super smart, they're watching and like another rat is escaping, or the guy's explaining how the rats could get out and he's watching quietly as a rat is also listening to him and following those instructions.
That's right, yeah.
And like, yeah, and so Dee is just like quietly watching this rat become like Jason Bourne, and he doesn't want to say anything, and then he's like, and really the only way he could get out is like by hopping on one of you guys, and the rat like looks at him and he looks and he's like, no. The rat jumps in his bag. And like they do this thing where they're like, nobody open their bags while we're here, and then he tries to get the rat out and the guy's like, young man, don't open your bag, and he's like, okay, fine. And so it's like, again, very well done. And so the rat basically smuggles itself out.
Yeah.
What I believe is genetically smart rat. And then the second episode is, I believe he's blackmailing. Oh,
I was just to say we revisit real quick the AM chat, because he's about to tell the rat he can't keep the rat anymore, and then he's in the chat with this girl, and she's like, he asks her if she likes rats. She's like, I love rats, especially black ones, and this one is a black rat. And she's like, do you have a pet rat? He's like, as a matter of fact, I do.
Yeah, exactly. And so the second episode is him impressing this girl.
Trying to, yeah. He's
trying
like
to
blackmailing. Yeah, it's
the henchman. Like he has a henchman. He's blackmailing the bully to like slap her like her books out of her hand so he can come in and say all these cool things, but he immediately freezes up.
Yeah.
And then in comes his brother who doesn't care. And so he's just
and doesn't realize there's a grift going on. So he's like, we should go beat him up. Come on, man.
Right. And then he wants to walk her home alone, but his brother's there, and he just keeps like, ruining his game. And at the end, he's like, by the way, I got these 2 tickets to this concert. You want to go? And then the brother's just like, but if we only have 2 tickets, how can we bring her? And then that's how it ends.
Yeah. Just completely fucking up his game.
Yeah. It's solid.
Yeah.
And then
it's fun and games.
The final episode is once again flashback. And it's about Chive and their band and a descent into drugs.
Yeah, let me tell you, Dave, I did not expect this episode.
It's a fucking heavy episode.
We don't need to reveal everything that happens, I guess, but it basically, it's just about, Glam has left home. He and Chive are now in a band. Chive is really, really into drugs, and it's kind of jeopardizing his life and their band. And like the other band members want to throw him out, but Glam's like, no, I'm not going anywhere without Chive. So,
Yep.
and then it gets really dark.
It gets really dark, but also really bittersweet.
Yeah.
Because Chive is kind of like, they were like, okay, well, now let's give Chive a story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they give Chive this very fleshed out story about where he came from and why he is the way he is. And
we saw glimpses of it in the previous episode that he was in, where like he lives in a trailer. His mom's an alcoholic who is very abusive towards him, at least verbally.
Yeah. But he seems to love her regardless. He says like, you don't know what she's been through. He's defending her.
Right.
And so this is about like, this darkness of Chive. And the message at the end is basically like, in this darkness, Glam hangs on to Chive because Chive saved him.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what it's about, friendship, ultimately.
Yeah.
It's about pursuing your dream versus friendship and what is more important. And again, huge fucking idea. And it sort of ends on a cliffhanger. And that's the last of this season. And that's why I was like, fuck, man, I got to watch the next one.
Yeah.
It's really impressive. And I can't wait for them to tackle the mom character. I want to see flashbacks of her. I want to see where she came from.
I want to see, Victoria's story, for sure. They sort of hint like at the end of this last episode that we're getting close to him meeting her.
Yeah. Yes. I think so too.
Yeah.
And I guess going back, what kind of amazed me about this that I feel is unique to this show. And maybe, I could be wrong here. I know other shows have done this a little bit, is that the first couple episodes, we meet a cartoon family.
Yeah.
And they all have their quirks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's very cartoon, very cartoon.
The dad never had to be explained. He could have just been this weird, cheery guy because we accept that in cartoons. But instead, they said, okay, hold the phone. Now we're going to explain why he's like that.
Yeah. And it's not going to be, it's going to be extremely real, extremely dramatic, and make total sense and kind of transform him into this tragic character.
Right. It's like this cartoony character actually has a very grounded reason he's like that.
Yeah.
And it's like if they revealed that like Peter Griffin had a brain damage and that's why he was like comically silly. Do they reveal that?
They did an episode where I don't want to say the word.
Okay.
But they do an episode where I think it's even called that R word, but it's basically he realizes that he does have like a learning disability or a mental disability.
But you know what I mean? I know.
Right. It's played for it would be like finding out that he had like this tragic
backstory.
Like he was in a motorcycle accident like Gary Busey.
Right, exactly.
Like just this real hardcore backstory to this goofy character.
Exactly. Well, you realize, like, by the end of this, you realize the dad isn't goofy. He is just, like, broken in a specific way. And not in a necessarily bad way, because metal saved his life is the idea. Mm-hmm. And so did his friend Chive, and this family is bliss for him. Part of it is bliss.
He did say at the end of that, because at the end of that season 1 episode where he walks out of his house in the flashback and leaves his sister and his dad behind, and his dad shouting, "You chose Rabble," it does flash back to them coming home from the will reading. He's like, "No, I did. I chose family," because he has his family now.
Exactly.
And they actually show us what his dad left him in the will. What was in the box was his trash model city.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so that's the thing. He's not tragic. He's just, he's struggling with his past still.
Yeah.
But he is happy not because he's like a sociopath, but because he really is like, I'm out, Mm-hmm. I'm in this world that I love, but he is still, trying to battle urges. He's
still keeping a lot of things bottled up in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the payoff of the firework of the glitter bomb is that in the rat episode, he visits the old teacher who's like, your son brought in a rat. And he assumes the teacher is just, throwing his son under the bus. and then he talks to the teacher, and it's very clear that the teacher is telling the truth. And then he's like, "Oh, okay." And then the teacher's like, "What's that?" And there's a lit firework.
It's
and
already
he puts
lit.
it out.
Yeah, his
Yeah,
glitter
he puts it
bombs
out and goes,
already
"Oh,
lit."
that's nothing. Don't worry about that."
Yeah, just in case.
So, like, yeah, I like that as the button of like, "Oh, I'm not going to glitter bomb you. You're right. Like, I'll only do it if you're wrong. So you're actually you're right this time. So you win. You know." And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, they pay a lot of little things off in unexpected ways, and a lot of things that I already said this, but a lot of things that seem inconsequential or just like random details are actually pretty significant story seeds that they're planting.
Yeah.
So I think I talked my way into really liking this show.
Well, that's the thing is, so my thoughts on it is like, okay, the humor is okay. It's not amazing, but it's cute. You know, like the firework thing. The firework thing is probably the first joke that for chaos that made me laugh. But that is just taste. It's not really, the humor isn't bad. It's well written.
Yeah, it's like one of those situations where it's like, you know, where you're watching something and like you'll the joke will come and you'll be like, "Oh, that's pretty funny," but you won't actually laugh.
Exactly.
Like
it's like
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
And that has to do with us being like fucking comedy geezers who fucking
old,
that's
dusty old farts with creaky old joints and
exactly
rattling bones. That's me.
Exactly. And just nightmare balls. But like,
it's terrifying.
Yeah, it's just a fucking mess. But the point being that like, it wasn't like, "Oh, that's not funny." It was more, it's charming. But for me, like the thing that like stood out was like, I didn't need this to be this well written.
Yeah.
And I would argue this is more intricate than most like TV cartoon family sitcoms.
So far. And with this storyline that they're doing with Clam, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this is a surprisingly intricate.
It's just as emotionally resonant as Jurassic Park.
Yeah, kind of.
The Futurama episode.
Yeah, I would say so, because what Futurama does that I would say the other ones don't, and that this does, is they focus on characters.
Yes.
And that's what this is that this could have easily been, what zany mix-up to this metal family get into? And I was so scared that every episode was going to be someone being like, "Oh my God, I'm so shocked that you're a metal family."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It was a shaky start for sure.
Yeah. And I was so scared that was going to be the case, and that it was just going to be that over and over again. But instead they were like, let's have an exploration of characters and like and actually like make you care about these people. And I just super did not expect that. It threw me way off. And like, bravo, that's really good.
Yeah.
And the translation gets a little better. Although I will say, if you want that teenage girl to be someone you like, don't have her say a gay slur like in like one of her first lines. But,
I missed that.
Yeah, when the guy knocks the book, the bully, I believe she uses a gay slur.
No.
And I was sort of like, okay, is that translation? You know, like,
that's true.
Certainly, I feel like from everything I watched in this, it felt like that's not where their heart would be. You know what I mean? I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt there, but like that really stood out to me, and I was just like, whoa, that is weird. That's like if they said that in Bob's Burgers, for context. Mm-hmm. You would be like, surely that wasn't what they meant. Like, surely there was a mistake.
Yeah,
that's my feeling. But like, I don't know.
I must have looked away or something. I watched some of these on my phone, so that one just went right by me.
It's weird because it's weird because she's not a bad character. She's supposed to be a good character.
You're supposed to like her, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was like, whoa, Jesus. Again, This is from Russia. I don't know about the translation. That's the only thing I flagged where I was just like,
the first chapter of Save the Cat is don't have your likable character say a gay slur.
Yeah, really.
Really a slur of any kind.
Yeah, any old slur.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my only like note. Otherwise, like, and I mean that's a big note, but again, that's yeah.
Maybe skip that episode.
I honestly, as far as I'm concerned, watch the dad ones, the glam ones.
The prequel ones, yeah. The
three longest ones, basically, that you'll find. And that tells like a really compelling, interesting story that doesn't end. There's a cliffhanger, so you're gonna want to watch more. And like you take those three, you mash them together, it's basically like a movie. because they happen one after another. And so I don't know. I think that's it's pretty impressive, you know?
Yeah. And definitely unexpected. It comes out of nowhere.
Yes. I don't think I have anything else to say
I think we've talked this one to death, but
yeah, we really have, and I apologize for just going through the plot, but what really was something where it was like it's like watching a stunt where you explain what the stunt is because you're just impressed by it, where I was just like, I did not see this fucking coming.
Yeah, it's out of nowhere.
Yeah. So good pick.
Yeah, solid pick. Happy birthday, whatever that person's name was.
Happy birthday, Scraps or Parker or Schlip Slap. You moody teenage twerp. Good. I don't know. Good taste in shows. I will probably. As long as I think to. Maybe I'll put a notice thing on the YouTubes. I want to watch the next one. So that's cool.
Yeah. I'll have to click the little bell notification.
That's it. It's a bell.
It's a little bell icon. Something. Yeah. It's your name, Dave.
Goodness.
Just click it. Just click your name, and it'll let you know when the show's coming.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Click my name. Thank you.
Click your name. Definitely won't get buried in a mountain of trash in my inbox.
Yeah, definitely won't. I definitely don't have that.
Definitely going to see this email when it comes
I definitely don't have 4 email addresses.
Certainly not.
Yeah. Listen, this was through our Patreon, so thank you all for listening, of course. And if you're interested, you should check out our Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. You go on there, you get exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. We watch movies every Friday night with our patrons as well. You can check that out.
Yeah. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com. You can find a link to our Teespring store. We have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So, slap your unnaturally wide eyes onto that. Unnaturally wide peepers.
Yeah, big peepers.
Yeah, he's just got this wide-eyed smile at every episode. It is disquieting.
Yeah. It is. It's unnerving.
Yeah.
That's how I like my cartoon characters.
Yeah, I like to be a little uncomfortable when I watch my cartoons.
Yeah.